Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgy kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you do is absolutely amazing. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to a great game that we're a part of at Critical Failures. Check us out Wednesday nights live, and then look back through our catalog as all the episodes get put up, usually the day after. Everyone who plays in that game is amazing. Definitely check us out. With all that out of the way, we're going to jump into this week's video. We're going to talk about the Eladrin. The Eladrin come to us from Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, as well as the Monsters of the Multiverse version. We're going to talk about the Monsters of the Multiverse version because it does give you an additional, kind of like a little bit of a buff to one of the abilities. But the Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes does have a lot of cool personality traits and flaws for all the different versions of the Eladrin, which I won't go into, but it's definitely worth going through because it really helps you get a good sense of what these seasons and the different options for an Eladrin make for the character and how the personalities kind of reflect that. It's really great to develop a character around and help build a personality for the actions that you're going to take. That being said, the Eladrin are elves. They are a unique kind of elf. These are elves that kind of stayed in the Feywild and never came to the material plane that we're in. They really embody what that elemental connection is for the elves and what it's like to be in the Fey, because it's so, like, you can transfer so well between the different versions and move with all the moments and that the like the seasons kind of transition to, and it carries a certain kind of emotional like virtue or characteristic. Like summer is bold and aggressive, spring is cheerful and celebrations, celebratory. Winter is contemplation and kind of like a sadness, like a darkness. And autumn is like peace and goodwill. So like it kind of reflects on some of the holidays that you might be celebrating at those times, and reflects kind of like the mentalities behind some of the solstices and what have you. But elves have a deep tie to being not bound to one form. They really kind of reflect that nature of being able to change whatever you feel like. The god of the elves, Corellian, loved to do this and punish the elves by preventing them from being able to do it. I believe so. I have to go kind of deep into the lore, but there's something along those lines, and that's how the divide between some of the elves started. It's a great sense of taking the elven wonder of being this like sophisticated, talented entity and giving it this very unbalanced nature to itself, this great free flow or free fall into different emotions and strengths to it. It's a lot of fun to play, and you can always evolve your character as you're going. Maybe something triggers an event that causes your character to become more like one of these other emotions or virtues that belong to these different seasons. Like maybe you lose a party member and all of a sudden become winter. Something like that can really trigger, and it can kind of give your character an opportunity to let the story really impact who they are in a very quick kind of a turnaround way. You can be a little scatterbrained with this, which is a lot of fun. So the Eladrin, like the elves, live to be about 750 years old. They have a lot of the same kind of Fey abilities and abilities that all elves have. Again, they have a walking speed of 30 feet. You're medium size. You are a humanoid, but you are not just specifically a Fey, which is important to know, because usually with this kind of a species, you would think that they would just be registered as Fey. So keep that in mind. You are a humanoid. You do have Fey ancestry, so you have advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the charm condition on yourself, which is always a benefit. Charmed on players is awesome. If you're ever a DM, definitely try to get the most out of it because it's a lot of fun to use. And you do have keen senses, so you have proficiency in your perception skill. And you do still have your trance, which, if you're unfamiliar with, is it replaces your need to sleep. You don't sleep traditionally. What trance is, it kind of puts you into this, like what you would think a trance is when someone's like in a deep meditation or something, or someone's like possessed by something. It's kind of like that. But for elves, what trance is an opportunity to replay anything that they can remember that happened in their lives. Their memory goes in depth. That's why in a lot of the lore in Dungeons and Dragons, you'll see elves being like seem like aloof or kind of absent-minded or like fixated on like one object. They fixate on these like object. Like if an elf sees a pretty rose, it'll stare at it for like an hour. Again, an hour to someone who's 750 years is really pretty meaningless. But the memory of knowing what that rogue looks like would be really important to that elf. So they'll spend hours looking at it to kind of memorize every single detail, every single like shade or line or the way the light hits it at certain angles. Because when they go into trance, at any point after that moment, they can see that flower. It's the same for moments, memories, their whole lives, things that they've been taught. Like they can relive a conversation they had. Say they were a monk, they can live a conversation they had with their master in the beginning of their training to help mold and shape them into someone that's going to be a fighter or a champion or something. Those kinds of things are what trance is really for. To relive those moments and remember these great things. And as you do that, it puts the elf in a state of rest like you would normally sleep. All elves do this, but for the Eladrin, they get a special caveat for this. Whenever you finish this trance, you can change your season, and you gain 2 proficiencies that you don't have, each one with a weapon or tool of your choice selected from the player's handbook. You mystically acquire these proficiencies by drawing them from shared elven memory, and you retain them until you finish your next long rest. Now, your season's going to matter for your next ability that we're going to get into, but this is important because the bonus to proficiencies is something that other elves do not get, which is cool, and this is what separates Mordenkainen's Two of the Foes from the Monsters of the Multiverse. This is the Monsters of the Multiverse versions. It gives you those 2 proficiencies. Again, weapon, depending on what class you might be, sometimes you're in a situation where like you're a rogue, where a whip might really give you the benefits of what you kind of really want, which could be a lot of fun. This is a great way to gain that proficiency. The thing that I find super interesting about this is that you draw this from a shared elven memory. And that's something that's really, really interesting. And I'm just speculating here because I haven't seen anything tangible that kind of puts me in this direction. But maybe being in the Feywild for so long and the way elven minds work when they're around each other, because they kind of share headspace with other elves. It's a whole big thing. I think that's where this ability comes from. So they're pulling these memories on how to use these proficiencies from their connection to other elves' memories, from elves that actually use these weapons or these proficiencies, which is a very strange, almost like a hive mind mentality, but it's cool that it can kind of exist in such a society such as the elven people. Now, the big thing that separates the Eladrin from everyone else is face step. Now, Shatter Kai have face step, and it's a necrotic one, and we love the Shatter Kai, it's just so much fun being them, and I love them a lot. But their face step is a little different, as you only have one option to it. Dependent on what season you take, your face step is different for an Eladrin. And again, you can't switch that whenever you enter your trance. So if you find one you like, you want to toy around with another one, definitely give it an opportunity. It does kind of give you a chance to change your tactics and playstyle. So kind of figure out who your character is when trying to put this together. Face step. As a bonus action, you can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. When you reach 3rd level, your face step gains an additional effect based on your season. If the effect requires a saving throw, the DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifier you choose when you select this race. So that gives you the option depending on what you're going to do. If you're going to use a caster, definitely want to pick the same ability as your casting ability. Autumn. Immediately after you use your face step, up to 2 creatures of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you for 1 minute or until you or your companions deal any damage to the creatures. Winter. When you use your face step, 1 creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of you before you teleport must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the end of the next turn. Spring. When you use your face step, you can touch 1 willing creature within 5 feet of you. The creature teleports instead of you, appearing in an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you. Summer. Immediately after you use your face step, each creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of you takes fire damage equal to your proficiency bonus. So obviously there's a big difference in how these work. Autumn, fantastic in political intrigue campaigns, things where you're dealing with a lot of humanoids that aren't fey, because you can use charm as not a spell slot, and it's a little hard to understand that you've been charmed because of that. You kind of just appear like a pout of like an explosion of leaves or whatever in a small area, and now people are just charmed by you. It's great. It's fantastic. There's nothing on the caveat saying that people know that you've attempted to charm them, or that when it ends they believe that they've been charmed by you, so you get to avoid that whole circumstance. But again, charm is one of those things that you really need to be A, working with a DM that understands how it works really well, and B, in a campaign where it's really effective. If you're a heavy role player, charm is a big opportunity that you kind of always want to be able to use, but you don't really get the opportunity most of the time. So definitely check that out, especially when you get the option to do it whenever you feel like, and there's no real like you can use one of your proficiency bonus counters to use this once in a social scenario. Winter is interesting because you have to pick the person next to you before you teleport. So when someone is frightened by you, they can't move towards you. This is a little bit of a tactical thing that you need to be very aware of when you're using this kind of ability, because you fear someone and they teleport into an opposite direction or whatever it is. Now that creature cannot go towards that direction, and being outside of line of sight of you makes it so that way they don't suffer the disadvantage of their attack rolls or anything. It's important to know where your players and your campaign and your party members are as far as where to place yourself to go, because you can use this to protect someone else, and that's kind of what this is really meant for. I think in a lot of situations it's a very helpful scenario. It also is great if you happen to be a ranged combatant. Because of this, if you land the fear of the frightened condition, they won't be able to go towards you, so you have a whole round of being able to lay in some damage at a distance and not have any repercussions from anything in melee or anything that has to be within a certain distance of them, which can be a very strong benefit, and it does give you the leeway of being able to move a great distance away from them afterwards. Keep that in mind. Depending on what you're trying to do and depending on how tactical you are of a player, this gets better with the more interesting tactical things you can use. The spring one is, in my mind, it's the hero ability, because say you're running and it's you and someone else, and you have an opportunity to send them to safety, and say it's your last use of this, and you send them out using spring. That's the hero moment, because you might not be the one who's able to make it back, and you can make that sacrifice. And I think that's a very beautiful moment. It's not every day you get to sacrifice yourself for your teammates, but you never know when you might find yourself in a situation where that might be what you need to do. And this gives you a great way to do it thematically, and it feels cool, and you kind of really feel like that character. Summer is pretty cool. It's just straight up fire damage. So you teleport, and then everything within 5 feet of you takes fire damage. If you are a melee combatant, if you're a tanky character, if you're looking to get in the fray, this kind of fits really well, especially considering the tenets of the season, where you're very bold, very aggressive. This fits in really nicely with that. The Eladrin are a very powerful species. They are just a strong version of an elf. You have the face step, you have the benefit of having different tactical options for the face step, and you have the great caveat of being able to change your appearance to kind of reflect that and have such a unique appearance because you are an Eladrin. That's not something you have a lot of opportunity to do, especially considering you can switch between them every day. It's a very unique, kind of flavorful way to make your character look and be ever changing and be kind of like dramatic and like fashionable. You can really reflect a lot of different things with them, and reflect how your character's feeling emotionally, and represent that really well with how they do their own personal actions. It is a cool, unique way to do that. They are the only species that I'm aware of that has such a great variety to them, no matter how many times you select the same exact one. You can also choose to just be one version of the season and rock that out through the entire thing. Very cool. A lot of love for them, actually, considering they're really kind of more flavorful than usually I would like. But as a counterpart to the Shadar-kai, they really are the opposite side of that coin, and it reflects really well, and I think they're a lot of fun to be around and play as. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you made it this far, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on Wednesdays with Critical Failures, and a big thank you to our incredible Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.